Why some animals choose to die after having children. Imagine spending your entire life preparing for one moment. You find a mate, you have children, you successfully pass on your genes, and then you die. Not years later, not months later, sometimes just days later. Some animals literally destroy their own bodies after reproduction. Their organs fail, their immune systems collapse, they stop eating. Some even begin digesting themselves from the inside out. And the strangest part? This isn't a disease. It isn't an accident. It's exactly what evolution designed them to do. Tonight, we're diving into one of the most disturbing mysteries in nature. Why would evolution create animals whose reward for having children is death? The answer is far stranger than most people realize. Picture a salmon. After years in the ocean, it suddenly begins an incredible journey. It swims hundreds of miles upstream. It battles powerful currents. It leaps waterfalls. It dodges bears, birds, and predators, all for one goal: to reach the exact river where it was born. When it finally arrives, something remarkable happens. The salmon reproduces, and then its body begins falling apart. Its skin deteriorates. Its muscles waste away. Its organs fail. Within days, it's dead. Scientists call this phenomenon semilparity, a strategy where an animal reproduces once and only once before dying. But salmon aren't alone. In fact, nature is full of animals following the same terrifying blueprint. Now let's travel beneath the ocean. A female octopus lays thousands of eggs. From that moment on, she becomes one of the most devoted mothers on Earth. For months, she guards her eggs. She cleans them constantly. She protects them from predators. She never leaves. She never hunts. She never eats. Imagine going months without a single meal. Most animals would abandon the nest to survive, but the octopus refuses. She stays, slowly starving, growing weaker every day until the eggs finally hatch, and shortly afterward, she dies. Scientists discovered something astonishing. A tiny gland near the octopus brain appears to trigger this self-destructive process. When researchers removed that gland in laboratory studies, some octopus mothers survived and resumed normal behavior. It was as if nature had installed a biological countdown timer. Once reproduction occurred, the timer started ticking. If you think salmon and octopuses are extreme, wait until you meet the antechinus, a tiny Australian marsupial. Every year, something unbelievable happens. During mating season, male antechinus enter a reproductive frenzy. For weeks, they barely sleep. They spend nearly all their energy searching for females. Stress hormones skyrocket. The immune system begins shutting down. Internal bleeding develops. Organs start failing. And after mating season ends, almost every male is dead. Nearly the entire male population disappears. Every single year. Imagine a species where the males essentially burn themselves out reproducing. It sounds impossible, yet evolution keeps selecting for it. Why? Because from an evolutionary perspective, survival isn't the goal. Reproduction is. And that's a critical distinction. Most people think evolution rewards the strongest survivors. That's not entirely true. Evolution rewards the genes that leave behind the most copies of themselves. That's it. Nature doesn't care whether an animal lives 1 year or 100 years. It only cares whether genes make it into the next generation. Think about it. If an animal can produce 10 offspring by investing everything into a single reproductive event, that strategy may outperform another animal that reproduces slowly for years, even if the first animal dies afterward. From nature's perspective, mission accomplished. The genes survived. The individual was never the priority. Imagine your evolution. You have two options. Option 1, spread reproductive effort across many years. Option 2, put every available resource into one massive reproductive event. The best option depends entirely on the environment. For salmon, the journey upstream is incredibly dangerous. Many won't survive long enough for a second attempt. So evolution favors a strategy that says, give everything you've got right now. For octopuses, survival after reproduction is often unlikely anyway. The energy required to protect thousands of eggs is enormous. So nature chooses maximum investment. In these environments, living longer doesn't necessarily increase reproductive success. And that's the key. Natural selection optimizes reproduction, not happiness, comfort, or longevity. At this point, you might think these strategies are completely alien, but humans aren't as different as we like to believe. Across cultures and throughout history, parents routinely sacrifice sleep, energy, resources, and years of their lives for their children. Of course, Humans don't literally die after reproduction, but the underlying principle is familiar. Evolution has wired many species, including us, to prioritize offspring. The difference is simply the degree. For salmon, the sacrifice is total. For humans, it's usually gradual, but both reflect the same biological truth. The future matters more than the individual. And here's where the story becomes unexpectedly beautiful. The death of spawning salmon doesn't just end a life, it feeds entire ecosystems. Their bodies provide nutrients for forests, insects, birds, bears, and countless other organisms. Researchers have found salmon-derived nutrients inside trees growing far from rivers. In a sense, the salmon becomes part of the forest. Its death fuels future life. The same is true throughout nature. What looks like tragedy at the individual level often becomes survival at the ecosystem level. Life and death aren't separate processes, they're connected. So why do some animals choose to die after having children? Because evolution isn't trying to keep individuals alive forever. It's trying to keep life moving forward. For salmon, octopuses, and countless other species, the ultimate success isn't survival, it's continuation. Their final act isn't a failure, it's the completion of the mission nature gave them. And perhaps that's the strangest lesson of all. Some animals spend their entire lives preparing for a single moment, the moment they create the future. And once that future exists, their work is done. The story ends for them, but it begins for the next generation. And in the language of evolution, that's immortality. What shocked you more, the salmon, the octopus, or the antechinus? Let me know in the comments.